So I was working in insurance and it was great and all, but there were parts of working a 9-to-5 job that weren't so great, like not having a window in my cubicle. And, I used to pretend like I was a prisoner and they only let me out on weekends and evenings because I literally felt like somebody told me when I could eat in somebody's cubicle. And, I used to pretend like I was a prisoner and they only let me out on weekends and evenings because I literally.
Sarah, that's from YouTube. Do you want to stop that?
Yep, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, basically I felt like a prisoner and someone told me about coaching. I learned about it. I took a certification, which isn't necessary, by the way, but, and so when I started coaching, I realized that was really the thing that I wanted to do with my life, and it was more purposeful. And it also allowed me the freedom and flexibility to work when I want to and work when I don't want to. I also golf every single day. I know that's weird for a young girl, but I love golf, and we have such a short summer that I figured I don't want to be stuck in a cubicle with no windows in the summertime. I want to be able to golf. So I really focus on helping people build their business in a way that gives them the freedom and flexibility to live their life and not just work to live, but live to work. No, the opposite, the opposite. Basically that you're not you can still make an incredible income while not working 24 hours a day or even 9-to-5. So now I pretty much work on Wednesdays and every other Sunday. And so that's something that I help people with now, is how to increase your income, how to build a business from, even if you are working in a 9-to-5 job, how to build that on the side, because that's what I did, and how to structure it so that you're making money but not working all the time. Because I think we have this old saying that you have to work hard to be successful, and it's more so you got to work smart. And now we have all these amazing tools that can help us make money and help people without having to work 24 hours a day. So that's me, that's who I am. And so I wanted to ask you guys a little bit about you and who you guys are and at what stage are you at? So I would love to hear, maybe if you guys can write it in the chat box, who here already has a business and who here is thinking about starting a business.
As well, feel free to turn on your cameras and your microphones, because we're happy to interact and share questions and stories.
Yeah, definitely. So
if
you want this to be a conversation.
Exactly. So if you want to turn on your camera, please do.
We're not scary, we're not judgmental, but we just want to see your face. Come on, when was the last time you guys saw other people's faces other than your families? No one wants to turn on their camera. Come on. Okay, that's fine. But can you guys let us know who here already has a business and who doesn't? You can raise your hand. I think that there's a raise your hand in the chat box also, if you just want to do that, versus who has, we have reactions too. This is so fun.
Awesome. So Tato Mio.
Yes, it's Olivia. That's just my that's my last name.
Oh, amazing. Hi, Olivia.
Hi.
So you said you already have a business?
Yes, I have two actually. I'm a wedding planner. I work full-time in healthcare, but that's my corporate job, like you said. And I have my own wedding planning business, and I'm also a postpartum doula, which is just very random and all over the place, but it is what it is.
Amazing. So you got 3 things going on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Randy, did you say that you also had a business?
There. Hi. Yes, so I've run my own business for about 18 years, and I'm a brand and product development manager, but I mostly sell to retail, so big box, and I find niche products and bring them to market. So which brings me to COVID-19, and retail's kind of not around, and having to really pivot that, and don't see much of a future in the brands that I find to bring to retail, because it's going to be very difficult coming with the future. And so I'm really thinking of the brands that I do work with now to really try to get them to get a greater online presence.
Mm-hmm. I was
trying to learn about that. And now that you can see me, I'm obviously not of the age that is really super proficient in social media. So I'm trying to learn about that these days.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that I actually have a lot of clients that are who also feel that way, who maybe are not so proficient with the computer or social media. And if I can just say, like, I didn't know any of this, nor did I actually like social media when I started this.
Right.
I didn't want to spend my whole life on social media. I still don't. And, but one, everything is learnable. The other thing is I actually shared in the workbook, this is something that you guys can certainly check out later. In the workbook under social media, I put some of the tools that I use. So I am a big believer in not working 24 hours a day. So I use a lot of automation tools. So tools that can help me either schedule things out so that I don't have to touch it, where I do it once and I never have to do it again because it's on a loop. So you can be putting out content where I put it in there one time and then it will loop it over like a year, and then you don't have to be putting in content all the time. So I put some of those social media tools that I use in the workbook that we can discuss in more detail if you guys have questions about that. But just something to think about, of like, sometimes I think of how can I set up strategies and systems and structures in my business so that I don't have to work, or I don't have to do something that's really repetitive, right? Because social media can be a huge time suck, and can also, it's like you have to do it, but it doesn't have a huge return on investment that you see immediately. And so if I don't love being consistent, like I don't want to be on there every single day. And so how can I still be visible to an audience and growing my audience while also not being on social media?
Okay. And then we have, if I can interrupt, a comment from Rena Gottesman. I'm an artist finding it hard to find time to promote my work when really all I want to do is create my work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I feel like that's an awesome problem to have, because like creating is a very large part of having a business. Like you can't sell anything if you don't have anything to sell. So you definitely want to start there. But again, I would say, like, what are the systems that are getting in the way for you? So I find it hard to promote my work. Now, number one, something that's really good for art is Pinterest. I don't know if you've used that before, but Pinterest is a great place where you could be promoting your own art. One of the tools that I shared in the workbook is called Tailwind. And Tailwind is one of those places where it basically uses Pinterest. It's a very good SEO tactic as well, because Pinterest like gets very high up in the search function, but where you could be promoting your stuff again on a loop, where you put it in once, it loops it around and is constantly sharing it. Pinterest doesn't have any dates. So if something is still available and hasn't been sold, it will continue to cycle through until it has been sold. So that's another way that you can set it up one time. It's not exactly fun to set it up that first time, but once it's set up, it's very easy to either duplicate something or just let it run on its own. The other side of that is, I won't go into this in too much detail, but Facebook and Instagram ads, depending on how you sell your products or your artist, like your art. I don't know if it's like on Etsy or like Instagram has a great cart, like add to cart platform now. But one of the things I do like about it is it's very creepy when it comes to us as humans and like people that are purchasing things, but they are listening to us and tracking us, every single thing that we do every single day. There's no way around it. I tried to get rid of my Amazon Echo. That doesn't get around it. Okay, because like if you have a phone and your phone has Siri, it's listening to you. If you have a computer and your computer is listening to you, trust me, I've been on the call with clients and like I open up my phone and all of a sudden it's an ad for something I was talking to about a client on my computer. So it's listening all the time. But what it does is it already knows who's looking for those things. So it will show your products to the people who are already looking for that. So let's say, for example, I was looking at like maybe I'm moving into a new house and I'm, looking at interior design and things like that. It's going to know that I'm looking for that stuff. So then it's going to put your product or your service in front of that person who is already looking for it. I might have been just talking on the phone with a friend. This has happened to me too, where you're talking on the phone with someone and then you go into your phone and there's an ad for the thing you were just talking about on the phone. So I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but being a person who actually uses these ads, it was like, oh, I know what this is, but it's still freaking creepy. So that's one of those things where you don't always have to be searching for people. Like I always thinking about that is like, I'm not hunting humans down. I don't want to be hunting humans. So how can I set up structures where I don't have to hunt the humans? Systems and technology can do that stuff for me. And now, like, we live in a world where there pretty much is a system for everything, not everything, but almost everything, if you look for it and if you ask. So if that's something that's getting in the way for you, I would look at like, what do I need to have in place so that I don't have to do those things? What am I doing repetitively? And I actually even look at this with my clients of what feels easy to me and what feels hard, annoying, like I don't want to do this. There are certain things that are making a big difference to your bottom line or your top line where you're making sales. And there are other things that we think are really important that are actually not important. So really looking at number one, what feels easy, and looking at where is the majority of my income coming from, and like mapping that back. Because if you are making sales, but you're working and you're feeling like you're doing all the things, what are the things that are actually not getting you results? And which are the things that are? And how can I double down on the things that are working and kind of cut out the things that are not working? Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions about that? Because I totally went on a tangent.
Well, Karen just wants to say that she's been a coach, is learning to be a coach, but feels stuck after 25 years in massage therapy. She wants to branch out into something new. So maybe if you want to start talking about how to kind of make that reality happen. You have a business idea or you have a business and you're ready to start growing it, expanding it. What are the first steps?
Okay, so I would say number one, when it comes to coaching, I wish that someone had told me this. You don't necessarily need a certification. We all think we do, but to be honest, I have one, and in the past 5 years, only 2 people have asked me about it, which is annoying because I spent so much time and money on it. But really all people want to know is like, can you help them? So the key with how do I get started is, now this is something I definitely want to talk about with social media, is that you don't necessarily need a lot of people to make a large amount of money. So if you really think about it, I don't need a huge audience. I don't need tons of people. I only need, if I want to make $10,000 a month, I need 10 people paying $1,000 a month. If I want to make 10,000 and I want 20 people, that's $500 a month. So if you really break down the numbers of what you're offering, it can feel a little less overwhelming of how many people do I need to have on my roster for me to be making a good amount of money. So I would certainly start with like, what is my dream income? And I don't like to, be like, what is the bare minimum? Building a dream business is not about bringing in the bare minimum where you could barely eat or survive or like enjoy life. What is the number that you want to get to actually be able to enjoy your life, right? Enjoy your freedom, enjoy your life, and then have that number in your mind and then break it down. So what do we need to offer in order to get there? And then this is also in the workbook. I have this saying where I take the lazy girl or the smart girl way of doing things. So instead of racking my brain about what should I do, how should I say it, where should I be posting, where are my dream clients, all these questions that people are like, I don't know where these people are. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to create my offer. I'll give you a really simple way. Just ask. Like, ask people who might be your dream client. Ask people, hey, does this sound like you? If you're struggling with this thing, do you mind jumping on the phone with me? I'd love to ask you a couple of questions. People love to help. So if you use the word, I'm looking, can somebody help me? I have a couple of questions and I'd love to, if you'd like, be open to answering my questions. Very casual, very easy. Then you can ask them some questions, like, what's getting in your way? What's your biggest struggle? One of my favorite questions is like, what is the number one thing that you've been searching for, but you haven't been able to find? Because most of us have been like, oh, it would be so great if this thing was available. Oh, it would be so amazing if I was able to do this. But we don't regularly talk about that with other people. And so if you just ask people that, like, what have you been searching for that you haven't been able to find? Another thing is, what do you think would fix your situation? What do you think the solution to your problem is? Because typically when it comes to marketing, we're actually selling people the thing that they want, not the thing that they actually need to solve that problem. But people don't buy the thing that they need because they don't know that they need it. You're supposed to be the expert. So how can you come at this? Like, how can you connect with people, build deeper connections, and ask questions? So if we jump, and this is a perfect time to do that because everyone is stuck at home. So if you're like, I'm not really sure how to market myself. I'm not really sure how to approach a situation. I'm not really sure what to say, or I'm not really sure how to create this offer. I'm not even really sure what to offer. I would say, like, okay, who do you think you want to work with? And I'll give you guys a hint. Typically, our dream client is us a couple of steps ago, because we're usually an expert in things we've already experienced, even though if you have ever taken coaching, if you've been in your coaching certification, they will tell you your experience doesn't mean anything. But I will tell you that in my experience, people don't want to work with people who don't understand them at all. For example, I like to use the example of nobody takes parenting advice from someone who hasn't been a parent, right? You're like, oh, you don't even know. Okay, you've never had kids, you don't know, you can't tell me how this is. It's the same thing in other areas. Like, nobody wants to take advice from someone who has absolutely no idea what these people are talking about. And even though in the coaching area, they will tell you you don't need to know anything, in real life, people only want to work with someone who gets them, who they feel like has been where they've been. And that's kind of how when you build those connections with people, when you put yourself out there and you share your story, which is typically uncomfortable for us. Like, we don't really want to share a story or be vulnerable. We want to be seen as an expert. But that story is actually what connects people to you and your business. And that goes for any product-based business as well. That's why they have like celebrity spokespeople, right? Because we need to connect with a human being with this business. We buy from stories that we connect with, like this business, like Tom's. Oh, they're giving shoes to like people that don't have shoes. Okay, so I'll buy these shoes because someone else, like, I'm giving also a pair of shoes to someone else who needs it. That makes us purchase Tom's shoes over another pair of shoes. So the story is just as important as what you're offering. So really looking at, how can I share my story? And the people that are typically going to connect with you are going to connect with you because of your story, because they feel like you guys are related in some way. On the other hand, people will find ways to connect with your story. No matter what your story is, people will find some way to connect with it if you're talking about how you feel. Because we've all been in similar situations, like we've all been angry or frustrated or disappointed or heartbroken in some way. Majority of people have had some similar experience to that. So when you talk about those feelings, that will draw people in and make them connect with you and your story. And then you can say, like, this is what I help people with. Like, this is where I was, this is where I am now, and this is what I help people with now, right? Like, I help you get from where I was to where, or so I'm helping people go from where they are to where you are, right? So where you were to where you are now, that's what inspires people to say, like I shared with my story, right? I used to work a 9-to-5 job. I started my business while working that 9-to-5 job, and now I don't do that anymore. Now I'm doing this. So it's that journey of like, oh, I connect with your story. I'm where you are now, but I want to be where you ended up. and maybe you can help me get there. So I would say, number one, market research, ask, interview people, do not send a survey, okay? I'm very against surveys because you're not, number one, building a connection with anyone by sending them a survey. Number two, you're asking people to confirm something you already think you know. We don't want that. We want open-ended questions. Ask what or how questions. Ask questions that are like completely open-ended where you're like discovering, you're curious. Like, I just would love to hear your story, you know? Because in the end, if you record those sessions, you can then use their words in your marketing, right? Don't paraphrase them, use their words. Because if they experience this, what's personal is universal. So if I've had that feeling, that means that millions of other people have had that feeling, right? If I've been through something, even if I feel like it was only me, the only person on the planet that went through this, there were millions of other people that went through it as well. So you can use people's like words, you don't have to use their name, but like, if this is how you're feeling, if this is what you desire, if this is what you want, I can help you. Does that make sense?
Yep. So maybe if we want to look at the workbook a little bit, just to start going through some of the steps.
Okay.
So I've posted the workbook in the chat. I'll give everybody a second to play catch up. All you have to do is copy the link, paste it in your browser. You'll be able to still see what we're doing here and follow along.
So one of the things I wanted to know is like, what is one of the, I go into the mindset a lot because we don't realize all the time, if people haven't dealt in the mindset area, how our mind is actually telling us what we can and can't do. And I'm a big believer in making unrealistic dreams because I don't think any dream is quote unquote realistic. When it started, like, you know, flying a plane is still a pretty ridiculous concept that a super heavy metal object can fly in the air. I still don't really understand that. So like, someone had a dream of going to the moon. That is a crazy dream, and we'd made it there. So I feel like, you know, your dreams can't be bigger than going to the moon, unless you're Elon Musk. But basically, like, what are some of the limiting beliefs or the beliefs that you have around why you can or can't have a successful business, or why you're, you know, what's holding you back in your business if you already have a business right now? What are some of the stories that you have on repeat in your mind? Does anyone want to share?
Feel free to turn on your microphones and cameras. I can ask some of the questions as we go through too. So, so she said, what are some of your greatest fears about your business? Just hit the little hand symbol under reactions, and we can answer questions as well. Is anyone having trouble opening the document?
Yes, for some reason I can't copy and paste the link for some crazy reason, and I'm pretty tech savvy, so.
Is anyone else having that same problem?
Are you able to click on it?
No, it's not hyperlinked, but it's totally fine.
Mine is hyperlinked in the chat.
I don't know, but all good.
I have a question, Sarah. There's also an option, if you're the host, which you are, to add a file.
Oh, okay, maybe I'll do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Phil, are you able to do that at your end? Because you're the official host.
It's in the chat. It should have like a little.
I'll try right now.
Add a file.
Okay. Great. So give that 1 second.
So I'm not seeing how to do that. However, I could share the screen though.
Yeah, why don't you do that? That might be the best way. Yeah.
Okay, give me a moment then.
I can definitely ask a question in the meantime if it's okay.
For sure.
I was gonna say, when do you kind of, I'm sure people ask you this all the time, when like if you're working in a corporate setting or you have something that's kind of making money, but it might not be exactly what you want it to be, when is kind of the sweet spot of when you are like, okay, this is when you should go ahead and go full force, or should you have like a year's savings saved up, or when do
Okay.
you know if you have a bunch of clients lined up, like what's the time that
This
you
is
usually
like
tell your clients?
literally the best question. And I don't get asked that question enough, I think. So thank you for asking that question. So I, one, will say that for me, I've had clients do all of them. So I've had clients who just like quit with nothing. And to me, that would never work. Like I would be so stressed. Like I can't even imagine that. For me, when I left, I was working for my stepdad in insurance. So, your parents are like, oh my God, we've helped you get this amazing job for so long. Like, you're just going to like leave. So I didn't also want to be like, not, be grateful for the fact that they had helped me get to where I was. But I wanted to make sure that I had recurring income. So that was the key for me, is like, how do I create recurring income so that I know I have a certain amount of income coming up every single month, that I'm either making more than what I was making in my job, or at least even to what I was making in my job. And I was making over $100,000 on my job at the time. So I definitely didn't want to leave with less than that. So I didn't want to change my lifestyle. So I would say, like, if you can set up recurring income. So that basically means like, clients that are paying on a payment plan. Maybe if you have a membership of some sort, if you have an ad that's going that exactly like how much that brings in every month. You might want to have like some savings put aside for a certain amount of time, especially if your business is seasonal, or, my cat got sick and I spent $10,000 in 1 month when keeping her alive when I quit my job. So, you never know what's going to happen on these rainy days. So having that in place. The other thing is, like, I did set up certain things, like if I'm going into too much detail into finances, but like as an entrepreneur, it's not easy to get a loan. So I would recommend that you at least get like a line of credit prior to quitting your job, and set up any of that stuff that you would need, like in like worst case scenarios, because it's much harder to get a loan or a line of credit or anything like that, a credit card, even like getting a car, an apartment, anything like that, a mortgage, if you have no pay stubs. So those are one of the things that I would say is like setting yourself up for success in any way that you can. But I don't really have like a specific time frame of how much you should have saved. I just like to make sure that you have like clients coming in, that that you'll be able to cover expenses, and like at least having like a certain couple of months in advance, and having a system of knowing like how to get those people in. But I will say that when I was working a 9-to-5 job, you have a lot less time to work in your business. Like I was working 8 to 10 hours a week. And at first when I quit, I was like, wow, I'm gonna have 8 hours a day every single day. This is gonna be amazing. You actually end up working a lot more than you need to, because you're like terrified.
Yeah.
So I honestly made more money in those first like 11 days than I had made in my entire business up until that point.
Okay,
So
that makes sense.
I feel like you'll be like, there's still going to be some fear around it, even if you have that in the bank and you have like those clients coming in. But having a couple of months, I think, is probably enough.
So we've had quite a few more people join us, which is fantastic. Anyone who wants to put on their camera or microphone, feel free, so that we can make this as interactive as possible. Tanya, can you start laying out a few more practical steps? So someone has started a business, they're ready to head into the marketing side of that. So they've got a business, they're making a few sales, but they want to take it to the next level. What are the next steps?
Okay. So number one, when it comes to like selling is hard. Like that's probably the biggest hump that most people get over, is like being visible enough to make sales and then making sales. So learning to sell, and feeling like feeling good about making money, receiving money from others is a big hump. So once you've gotten over that hump, it's really about looking at how can I repeat this? What was, again, what I said from the beginning, like what was working for me? And then how can I set up this in a system so that I'm not constantly doing it? For example, like you guys, like Adath Israel utilizes email marketing, right? So you building a list of people on the email list that we can send out emails about how like things that are upcoming. And if you have, like, if you're a product-based business, sales that are coming up, building those relationships with people, keeping them warm. So I always talk about it as like, you're not going to go to a party, meet someone, and ask them to marry you on the first date. So you really want to build a relationship with people for the long term so that you have repeat customers, so that the customer experience is wonderful, that they're reviewing you and you're sharing those testimonials. So how can I build a system that somebody comes in and makes a sale? And maybe if it was really laborious for you to make the sale, like maybe you didn't have even a system for making the sale, how can I set up some systems so that it's easier for me to sell the next time and I don't have to, be sending out the emails of saying thank you for your purchase or like things like that. And then what worked, right? Where did that person come from? What was I doing that led to that sale? What kinds of questions did they ask me? What objections did they have? What was still in their mind? Setting up like a sales page or an online store for this, setting up frequently asked questions so that people are able to answer some of their own questions without having to speak to you. So that, like, again, it's removing some of the stuff that you have to do, because if you're having to put in so much work for every single sale and you have no system at all, it's going to get exhausting and you're not going to be able to be everywhere all the time. So I would say the next thing is to ramp up, like selling is building a list, using that audience, selling the things that were working, like looking at what worked, doing that again, and building on that, like, and building your network with those people. And like, I do use ads, but Pinterest, I always say, is like free Facebook ads. Using Pinterest, if like your people are on LinkedIn, using LinkedIn, like, if you're able to sell on Instagram stories or videos, doing that. If you can make money through YouTube or blogging, like doing the thing that was working. So if it was a blog, if it was a workshop, if it was like you went into someone else's business and had some sort of workshop there, you did an online workshop, you did something on social media, what was it that worked and how can you repeat that? And then how can you systematize it?
How do you know which tool is right for you? So there are so many, and we've just got up the social media page here. There are so many different social media tools out there: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. How do you know which one to invest money in or not? You don't have to spend money to use social media. So how do you make that determination?
Okay, so number one, I would say what comes easily to you is number one. Because like if it's like a huge pain in the butt and you absolutely hate doing it and you don't want to go on there, you're not going to do it. So that would be number one, what comes easily to you. And then number two is going to be asking the people who are your dream clients or your current clients, where do they spend the most time? Because I'm of the belief that you can likely just be on one, you don't have to be everywhere. Once you got one down, then if you want to venture into another one, venture into that other one. But likely, like, your people spend majority of their time on one versus the other. Like when I was working, I spent a lot more time on LinkedIn. Now I never go on LinkedIn. I spend most of my time on Instagram, and that's where most of my people are. Like, I have clients that spend most of their time on Facebook. That's where most of them are. If you're really young, maybe TikTok or Snapchat. They basically are all very similar in what they do nowadays. So I would say one, which is the one that's easiest for you, and then asking your people, because they will have the best answer, right? Where do you spend the most time? And then if you ask like 3 to 5 people and then get a little poll, or even doing a poll, but typically wherever you did a poll is likely the channel that people are going to vote for because they're on that platform.
And what's the best content to put out there? So you've got like a suggestion of Canva, which lets people, and Canva is actually a really great tool because it lets people design right from templates. It's free, which is our favorite word.
Yeah, all these things are free.
All these things are free, which is fantastic. But what is the best kind? So say I'm selling shoes. Should I be making videos about them? Should I be making images about them? What's sort of the best way to communicate with your audience?
So that's a great question. Okay, so I would look at number one, like, how do you buy shoes? What's the typical experience that somebody has? Like, what do they care about, right? Do they need to see it on a video? Do they even watch videos? Because even when it comes to like moms, you know, maybe their hands are full. So maybe a video is easier for them, or maybe audio is easier for them. You know, maybe reading as a mom, a newborn baby is probably not that easy, you know, or even a toddler. It's probably not that easy. It's probably easier to listen to a video or to an audio file than to read something. So really looking at like what is easiest for my audience, and then what is their typical buying experience. So do I need to see the shoes from every angle? I probably do want to see like the shoes on someone. That would probably help make my decision, right? But I might not sit there and watch like a 5-minute video of these shoes like walking down the street, you know? So really looking at like what is a typical buying experience, and especially if we're going online, like with COVID, like how can I recreate some of that experience? How can I answer? So typically people are going, I always say to my clients, like people are always going to your page trying to convince themselves that they should not buy this. Okay. Nobody goes to the site trying to convince themselves that they should buy this unless they've already decided that they want to buy it. And then they're like, okay, I just need to make sure this is right for me. But we want to give them all of the things that they need to know to make the decision easier for them. So you kind of want to be in their mind of like, what are some of the objections that people typically have? Like, oh, well, I have wide feet. So like, is this good for wide feet? That might be something that you put on the description, or in like that they can choose like, you know, narrow, wide, regular, right? That they have options. Or maybe you say like, this is best if you have this wide of feet, or even showing how wide the shoes are, right? Having somebody go on there and, you know, if they have a testimonial, like I have wide feet, I typically am not able to purchase shoes, but these shoes work for me. For me, like I have super tiny feet, like I can never buy shoes. I know that like most places don't have size 5. Oh, they have size 5. Great. You know, like that's how I make a decision. But what are the factors that really make someone's decision, and how can we incorporate that in? Whether it, and I personally would say like shoes are typically one of those things where you probably just need an image. You know, you might have somebody, you know, showing how amazing the shoes are and talking about how they danced all night in them and they didn't even hurt their feet, but it would likely have to be like a real person.
So how do you maximize your reach? Even if you're not doing a paid ad, how do you maximize your reach so that you will get those sales?
Okay, great question. So depending on what platform you're on, it's slightly different, but I'll just use like Instagram as a typical platform for this, if because I feel like that's maybe the most popular one right now. You're going to use reach based on, it's going to get there based on engagement and hashtags. So I didn't write anything about hashtags. I didn't want to get too deep in there because I can go real deep with hashtags. But one of the best suggestions I can tell people is to not use hashtags that describe the thing in the image. Okay. Use hashtags that people are actually searching for. So think about like, because hashtags are a search engine thing, right? I either follow a hashtag or I'm searching for something specific. So if we are keeping on our example of shoes, right? Maybe I'm looking for like new high heel shoes 2020. Like what are the new, or like Michael Kors heels 2020, you know? I can type that into the search engine, and then that would be something I might want to use. Now, you don't want to use the biggest hashtags because there are too many people on there and your post will be gone in 4 seconds. You want to get enough traction. Like I like to be in the 100,000s to 1,000,000 range of posts, so that you're getting enough people seeing it, but you're not getting lost in the shuffle too quickly. Because the longer your post lives on social media, the more reach it's going to get. The more people engage with your post, the more reach the algorithm is going to it's going to show them to more people. So basically, like, I want to get people to engage with my post. And now there's so many ways to do that. You can share it, you can save it, you can like it, you can comment on it. How do you know what the strength of a number is? Like how many, so the number is like how many posts per, I don't even know if it's per month or
Is that
per
the strength of a number or strength of a hashtag?
hashtag, I think. How do you know what the strength of a hashtag is? So
Yeah, hashtag.
So basically, like, if you go into, well, firstly, it's kind of a guessing game. You can see it in your insights as to like which posts did well, but you can't see which hashtags were the result of that. And up until now, there's still no tool that will tell us that, unfortunately. But what I do is, like, I'll set up a couple of groupings of them and see which grouping does better, and, you know, start to trade a couple here and there to see which ones are doing better. The other thing is you can click on it and see if you're in the top posts for that hashtag. If you can get into the top posts, your post will live for longer. So that's why you want to use some smaller, some bigger, and a teeny tiny bit of really big ones.
I actually found a neat website where, say you're selling shoes, you would just put in Google best hashtags for shoes. And then there's sites that will put like 20 hashtags that you can copy and paste right into your Instagram.
Yeah, so those are good ideas. But just be careful because they're typically like very large hashtags.
Yes.
So like you just want to be careful where you're not using all 30, and I mean, people have different positions on this, but I'm a big believer in using all 30 opportunities for you to get seen. You know, so if you can use 30, use all 30 if you can. But yeah, look for like ones that describe what someone would be searching for. And the other thing is to use ones that maybe the person isn't necessarily searching for, but describe like something they might follow. And now you can actually go into people's profiles and see like what hashtags are they following. So again, you can kind of do some research where you can go through a couple of people, maybe it's your past clients, and you can go through and see like what hashtags are they following. And if you start using some of those hashtags, you'll get more people like them. Right. So it's kind of a guessing game, but and it takes a little bit of time, but if you do like one or two like little groupings and see which one does better, and then scrap that one that does worse, and, like, you know, do another grouping, see which ones are doing better, maybe switch up a couple of them and see which one does better. It's also dependent on like the post though. So like that's why the hashtag strategy is not like 100% like foolproof, because we don't know which ones are working. And unfortunately, like the image or the video is actually impacting it. So you really want to be like, okay, like how else can I get people engaged as well? Like if I ask people to share it or save it or comment on it, people need to be told to do things. It's amazing. You will find it is amazing what happens when you just tell someone to post an emoji or to like this or to share this or to save this. You know, I guess it's like because of school, when we are told to do something, click here, buy now, like click here to buy now, or like click here to download, or click, press the save button in the top right hand corner, you know, like make sure to go and save it before you forget now. Like something like where you're telling them what to do, it is very effective.
You need to be having a communication with people from the get-go, right from the post to the sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I would tell them what you want them to do and get them in the habit of like taking action and engaging with you and commenting on. You can ask a question, but again, you want to make it pretty easy for people because people are scrolling pretty quickly. And also like being controversial, you know, saying something funny, posting something funny, like all of these things get you seen by a bigger audience. And then that actually like the algorithm will then show your content to them again the next time you post. So it has like a double positive impact. And Instagram does really like it if you post every day or every like 2 to 3 days. You don't have to post every single day, but the more you do, the more it likes you.
So quantity and quality matter.
Yeah, like especially on Instagram, like I feel like quality does matter. And it's not just about, because if you just like post a bunch of shit, people are just gonna be like, no, like not interested, you know? It's better to post, like, especially for your feed, like I would be more inclined to do less posts and do better posts. But I would mix it up. Like you don't have to always do long ones. You can do short ones and long ones. And you know, and I repurpose a lot of my content. Stick a new graphic on it. Don't even do it a new graphic. Just do one that you did a year ago. No one's gonna remember. It's probably just as relevant. People will have forgotten about it. You don't have to be creating new content all the time. You can be recycling your great content. If something worked really well, do it again. You know, like we don't want to be creating more work for ourselves when something's already working.
And then if someone isn't social media savvy, which a lot of people aren't, what's the best way to get used to these tools, to use these tools? Are there courses? What are your suggestions?
So there are definitely like a lot of like free videos or free like what are they called, like step-by-step things online. Certainly like asking questions, like I would just like reach out to people and ask. Like you can join a Facebook group and ask. You can reach out to somebody. Like people love to chat, especially in COVID times. If you say something nice to someone, you're like, wow, I loved that graphic that you made. Like, how did you make it? You know, what tool did you use? You know, was it easy? Like just ask for help. Like that was the biggest thing that I wish that I had known. I'm still not very good at it, but asking for help is like the most powerful thing. It makes people feel good to be helpful, and you get to the answer so much faster. So if you're like, I don't know how to use social media, ask someone, like ask someone for help. Know that nobody started out a professional, as it says right here. Like literally some of the things that I posted when I first started make me cringe so much now. But I would never have gotten to where I am now if I didn't start out by making stuff that was like cringeworthy in my opinion now, right? We have to start somewhere. Like you can't expect yourself to be great at it right away, you know, but giving up is also not going to help you get there any faster. So I would look at, like, I always used to say to myself, especially when you're working or like when you have kids or stuff like that and you're busy, you already have a busy life, like how am I ever going to learn this? Is break it down into 15-minute increments. Like what can I do in 15 minutes? If I only have 15 minutes, what can I do to maybe try it out? Maybe I just start with like the text, or maybe I start with like pressing a couple of buttons. Maybe I reach out to somebody and ask. Maybe I even just create a little like screenshots of the ones I like, right? Identifying like what works for you, what you like, and then looking at like, how can I make this, you know? Starting by asking people or by trying some of these tools. Like the one I said with WordSwag, literally, you'll be surprised for anyone who's never used it. It's an app on your phone, and it once you start to use it, you'll realize that majority of people's posts on Instagram come from this one app because it does it for you. You type something in, you press the little dice, and then it moves the letters around for you and like makes the little decoration with it. And like you can just like click on whatever font you want and press the dice again, and it will move it around until you find one that you like. You're literally just rolling the dice to find something you like. It has tons of free photos in it if you want a photo on your background. However, I will say that on Instagram, white backgrounds do the best. I've had this with many clients. I work with many clients on this. You would be surprised by how much you can get from like a very simple white background. For some reason, white stands out on Instagram. So you might not even need to make it all fancy and beautiful. Like the simple things are the things that are going to stand out. If your words are controversial, if like it's a photo of you, that's another thing. People want to see your face. Even if you're a product-based business, we connect with people. So how can you put your face on it? None of us want to do that. But just put your face on there. You'd be surprised, you'll get much more of a reaction than if you make a beautiful graphic that you spend so many hours on. I bet you'll be like, why did nobody do anything with my graphic? And then you put your face on there and people will be like, oh my God, hi, like beautiful, like your words are beautiful, like whatever, you know, something. So I would say like keep it simple. Start with like, what can I do in 15 minutes? And, you know, figuring out like what tools are easy, because there are a lot of tools out there, but I would say WordSwag is like a really good one to start with. It's super easy, way easier than Canva.
So we've covered a lot in a very short time. I'm going to open it up to questions from everyone participating. So if you want to turn on your cameras, we'll take about 10 minutes worth of questions. You can ask about your specific business or about social media in general or the tools that are available. So we'll give everybody a second to get back online. Phil, can you stop sharing your screen for a second? Thank you. Okay, so Rena wants to know, how do you post your product on Pinterest?
Okay, so that's probably something I could not cover on this right now. But I'm trying to think of like what's a good resource for how to post on, like I could help you personally, but I would say like maybe type that into Google. There might be a YouTube video, or if you want, like send me a message after and I can certainly like help you do that, because Pinterest, I swear to you, it's free Facebook ads. It's amazing. I feel like nobody really uses Pinterest because it's like, oh, I don't use it, but it literally makes everything come up on the like Google search so much quicker. It's crazy. It's great for SEO is basically what I'm saying. And it's great because you don't have a date on it. Nobody knows when you posted it, and you can just put it on a loop. They're called smart loops.
It's timeless.
Yeah, I love that. Love any of that kind of stuff.
Next question. Feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and put it out there.
Yeah, we're happy to chat too.
Oh, what is SEO?
So SEO is basically like keywords that come up when someone searches something in Google. So if like I type in like how to post on Pinterest, you know, somebody's blog that has that either some of those words or all those words in their website, it will come up. And then certain people are higher up on the first page of Google than other people, and that takes time because it's like organic. And so the more keywords, more people are searching for you, more people click on you, the higher up in the search you come. And like how many of us go to the 10th page of Google, you kind of want to be on the first page of Google.
So it's search engine optimization, and it's the words used to put you further up the Google ranks.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So how can people, we've shared a workbook tonight. What do you think, how can people best use your workbook, and what should so after they fill everything out, what should their next step be?
Mm-hmm. So I would say after you fill this kind of stuff out, I would say like setting up your goals. That's something I talked about in the workbook of like, what are my goals for the next 6 months? Even if you want to shorten it to what is my goal for the next month? And like, what is available to me? What resources are available to me? One of the things that I think is really amazing is like we as humans like can help each other. And like even just getting an accountability partner, someone who is in this workshop or someone you know who's also wants to be held accountable, how can we like help and support each other in reaching those goals? Like setting out what are the steps that I need to take, and when am I going to do them? What resources are there that I can get help from or that I need to check out? Who can I ask for help from? And putting a deadline on those things so that you have some sort of accountability to get started. And then, so once you have your goals, you're ready to like get started. I would say like taking it one itty bitty step at a time. It depends, like if you're doing marketing, like, you know, what is it that you need to, what is it that you have been wanting to do that you haven't had time for? Or what is it that's really going to make the biggest difference? What do you think is going to make the biggest difference in your bottom line or your top line, whatever, in your income? What is the thing that's going to make the biggest impact on that? And how can you get started on those things first? I will say I used to do a challenge with my clients where we would, for 7 days, set a list of what are the 7 things that I've been avoiding doing? And then checking one of those things off per day for 7 days. Because the things that we've been avoiding doing are typically the things that will have the biggest impact in our business. The things we've been doing and the things that are really comfortable and easy for us are typically the things that are not maybe getting us those big results that we've been wanting. And we just keep doing them, keep doing them, keep doing them, expecting different results, and we're not going to get there. So really, even if you guys want to, making a list about what are your 7 things that you've been avoiding and how can I get started on them, and, you know, break them down. You know, if you're saying like, oh, I wanted to start an email list, or, oh, I wanted to set up a membership area or set up an online store, like that's a huge thing. So what are the things that are actually in there? Like, oh, I need a URL. Oh, okay, I need to decide on a platform. Okay, you know, those are like smaller steps that you can break it down for, and then get started. Get someone who's going to hold you accountable, because we would send each other just a photo of us checking them off every day. Super simple to say, I did it. I didn't want to do it, but I did it. And somebody knows that you did it or didn't do it. No excuses.
So we're hitting 9 o'clock, and I know we weren't able to cover everything we would have loved to have covered. So everyone has the workbook available to them. If anyone wants to follow up with you, how do they do that?
So at the end of the workbook, there's also my email. You guys can always email me. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. Or you can always send me a message on social media. I left my Instagram and Facebook on there as well. I would say email is the best way to get in touch with me. And like, if you want me to jump on a call with you, I'm happy to do that and help you through any of it. Like, I know, especially because we talked a lot about tech today, that tech can be overwhelming. And I will say that I literally didn't know any of this when I first started. I didn't know anything about tech. I didn't go to school for this. I went to school I did pre-med in university. So I didn't do any of this. So like, everything is like learnable, and it just takes like asking for help and someone to show you how, because sometimes things can feel harder than they are once you like learn the steps.
Awesome. Do you have any final comments before we say goodnight to everybody?
I would say just like, it's all possible. Like, I feel like I wouldn't have believed that it was easier than it was and possible. Like, it's obviously not easy in like the grand scheme of things, but I do think that it's possible for everyone to do it. Like, I have clients of every walk of life. I have clients that have like 5 kids under the age of 7 at home, you know, or people that are retiring or thinking about retiring, every walk of life. And you can definitely do it. And you just got to push through some of those fears and some of the tech stuff that gets people, that stops people from getting there.
Awesome. All right, well, we thank everyone for joining us tonight. Please feel free to reach out to us on social media, to reach out to Tanya on social media, and feel free to share your own social media with us. I'm going to do a post after our event on our synagogue Facebook page, where we'll invite everybody to share their business link, their Facebook link, their Instagram link, just so we can continue the conversation offline as well.
And then maybe you guys can connect for like an accountability partner.
There you go. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much to everybody for joining us tonight. And if you're interested in doing more of these types of sessions, let us know, and we'll be very happy to put them on.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks so much. Talk to you later.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.